Have you ever, looked at your grocery bill and thought, wait a second, that's it, for that price? It feels like the basket's a bit lighter than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that feeling, that's inflation. And it's more than just a few things getting pricier,
Right. It's a sustained increase across the board in the general price level.
meaning each dollar, each pound, each euro,
Yeah.
it just buys less. It's kind of like this invisible thief, this silent tax.
A silent tax is a good way to put it. You feel it, everyone feels it in their wallet, but grasping how it works and how it reshapes the economy, that's trickier.
And how it doesn't affect everyone equally.
Right.
Some people actually kind of benefit while others lose out.
Absolutely. So our mission today in this deep dive is to really unpack inflation. What is it, really? How on earth do we measure it?
Which sounds complicated already.
Oh, it is. And then what actually causes it? And maybe most importantly, what tools do we have to, keep it under control? We're going to dig into the sources here.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. Inflation. It's that erosion of your money's purchasing power, that checkout feeling again. Your bill's high, basket's less full.
Exactly. And its opposite, deflation, where prices fall. Sounds good, maybe. Big sale.
Yeah, you'd think.
But actually, it's often a sign of really serious economic trouble. Falling prices can be brutal in their own way.
Okay, so if it's this invisible force, how do we actually, track it, measure it?
Yeah, you can't just see inflation directly. We estimate it. Statisticians use these indices. The big one everyone knows is the CPI.
The Consumer Price Index.
Right. In the U.S., the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they collect something like 80,000 prices every month for over 200 categories of stuff.
Wow, that's a lot of price tags.
It is. They build this hypothetical basket of goods and services for a typical consumer. And that index, it's super important for things like adjusting Social Security payments, cost of living adjustments.
But I've heard the Fed, the central bank, they often prefer a different one, the PCE.
Ah, yes, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index. Good point. The Fed does lean towards PCE.
Why is that? What's different?
Well, it's broader, for one, but crucially, it accounts for something called the substitution effect.
Substitution. Like if steak gets too expensive, I buy chicken instead.
Exactly. The PCE tries to capture that shift in your actual spending habits. It adapts as you adapt. CPI's basket is a bit more fixed.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's core versus headline inflation.
Right. Central banks often look at core inflation. That strips out food and energy prices because they bounce around so much.
Right. Gas prices go wild sometimes.
Exactly. So core gives maybe a smoother picture of the underlying trend, but headline inflation, the one with food and energy, that's what you and I feel most directly, at the pump, at the supermarket.
Still, even with all these numbers, sometimes people say, yeah, but that doesn't feel like my inflation. There are limits, right? Like shrinkflation.
Oh, definitely. Shrinkflation, same price, smaller package, that's a sneaky one. And just adjusting for quality changes in products is really hard too. So yeah, these are sophisticated tools, but they're not perfect reflections of every single person's reality.
Okay, so measurement is complex. What about the causes? What gets this inflation engine going?
Two main drivers traditionally. First is demand pull.
The classic, too much money chasing too few goods.
Precisely. Think about big government spending increases or tax cuts or even those stimulus checks during the pandemic. Lots of money flooding the system, boosting demand maybe faster than supply can keep up.
Okay, so that's the demand side. What about the other one?
That's cost push. This comes from the supply side. Basically, it costs more to make things.
Like raw materials get expensive.
Yeah.
Or shipping.
Yes, exactly. The classic example is the OPEC oil embargo back in 1973. Oil prices shot up, energy costs soared for everyone, pushing prices up across the economy. Or think about the recent global supply chain snarls. Those are supply shocks.
So more expensive inputs mean higher prices for us. Makes sense.
But there's a third factor, maybe less obvious, but incredibly powerful.
Which is?
Inflation expectations. What people believe will happen to prices in the future.
How does belief affect prices?
It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If everyone expects prices to rise, say, 5% next year, well, workers will demand higher wages to keep up, right?
Yeah, makes sense. You need to cover those expected higher costs.
And businesses facing higher wage demands, what do? They raise their prices to cover those costs.
Which then confirms the expectation that prices are rising.
Exactly. You get this dangerous feedback loop. It's called a wage price spiral. Expectations literally start driving inflation.
Okay, so we've got demand pull, cost push, and these tricky expectations. What are the consequences? We mentioned the silent tax.
Right. It eats away at the real value of your savings. If your bank account pays 1% interest, but inflation is running at 3%, you're actually losing 2% in purchasing power each year. Your money is worth less over time.
Ouch. And you mentioned it redistributes wealth.
Yeah, kind of arbitrarily. Think about loans. If inflation is unexpectedly high, borrowers kind of win. They get to repay their loans with money that's worth less than when they borrowed it.
And the lenders lose out.
The lenders and savers generally tend to lose in that scenario. They get back money that doesn't buy as much. It's a transfer of wealth, essentially.
So how do policymakers try to tame this beast?
The main tool belongs to the central bank, like the Federal Reserve in the US, or the Bank of England, or the ECB in Europe. They use monetary policy.
Raising interest rates, usually.
That's the main lever for fighting inflation, yes. Raising interest rates makes borrowing more expensive for businesses and consumers.
Which should cool down spending and investment.
That's the idea. It slows the economy down, reduces that demand pull pressure. It's called contractionary monetary policy. Fiscal policy, government spending, and taxes can help too, but it's usually slower, more political.
But there are risks, right? You can't just hike rates indefinitely.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very delicate balancing act. If they raise rates too much or too fast, especially when inflation is cost-push driven, they risk choking off economic growth altogether.
Leading to
The worst of both worlds, potentially. Stagflation. That's high inflation and stagnant economic growth with high unemployment. Think the 1970s. It's a really tough situation.
History has some pretty stark warnings about letting inflation get out of control, doesn't it?
It really does. The most extreme example, maybe, is hyperinflation in the Weimar Republic, Germany, in the early 1920s.
I've read about that. Just unimaginable.
The government was printing massive amounts of money, trying to pay off war debts. Prices started doubling incredibly fast, like daily. People literally needed wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy basic groceries.
Wheelbarrows. It just destroys everything. Savings become worthless overnight.
Completely wiped out. And that kind of economic chaos, that complete loss of faith in money and the government, it paved the way for political extremism. It's a terrifying lesson.
And a powerful argument for why central banks need to be independent, focused on price stability.
Absolutely fundamental. So when you pull it all together, inflation isn't simple. It's this complex interplay of demand, supply, the amount of money flowing around, and critically, human psychology, those expectations.
It really is a constant balancing act for policymakers, a tightrope walk.
Definitely. Between keeping prices stable and making sure the economy keeps growing and people have jobs.
So thinking about all this, this constant dance between stable prices and economic growth, it clearly has huge implications for your financial future, for everyone's savings, investments, and just the overall health of the economy. What stands out most to you from our dive today about how these forces interact? And maybe more importantly, what does that mean for how you think about your money in the years ahead?